All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition. Back in the saddle here on Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Beau and the Great Z. We'll have some time for some frivolity and fun weekend as things went along, but we do have some news here in the last hour. And I think, just from the prospect of kind of laying out kind of where all of this is at this point. And this has always been, and is frankly for us going to continue to be a bit of a difficult talk because, obviously we do this show in Berea, right? And so there's that part of it that is until the Browns have a statement, that will be something that will, or if they do, we don't know at this point if they will. But here's what we do know at 1 o'clock is that Tony Busby, the attorney in these women who have filed civil complaint against Deshaun Watson, announced a little more than an hour ago that they have reached settlement on 20 of the 24 civil suits. So we do know that has been the case. Beyond that there's a lot of conjecture about what could be the case. We also know this, that the NFL spokesman, Brian McCarthy, on the settling of the 24 civil lawsuits said, quote, today's development has no impact on the collectively bargained disciplinary process. So a couple of things on this. There's a lot of This is always going to be incredibly complicated because what you are and look, you guys are smart. If you're listening to this show, you've read, you've seen all the stuff that's out there. There's a couple of factors here. So there is Deshaun Watson's status here as the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
There is the NFL's decision on suspension to length of how long, what it looks like, all of that.
Yep.
There is civil litigation that right now 20 of those 24, now allegedly there was going to be 25, 26, but I don't know if those last two were ever filed. Those have not been filed. So you have 20 of the 24 have been filed. As I am kind of paying attention here in the last hour, and this is coming fast and furious, it does feel like the other 4 could be coming too from various reports, that this could be, and I would assume that would be the case, that if you settled one with Busby, you would settle all with Busby as he represents all of the alleged victims in the civil litigation. So this is you're looking for financial gain for wrongdoing. So that's where this is. It's important, I think, sometimes to remember that. So I do think that before there could be the NFL, not before, this makes it easier for the NFL, the Browns, Watson, to move forward on penalty for whatever the NFL deems was done wrong here once this part's done. To me, Z, it seemed like it was almost impossible for the league to penalize him and Deshaun Watson not to appeal and fight that penalty, because almost anything other than doing that would be some sort of an admission of guilt. So this allows for, to me, that road to be navigated.
Absolutely. And look, I'm going to make a couple of assumptions here. First assumption, Deshaun Watson wants to get this behind him, right? And so that he can focus on playing football, preparing for the season. I think the Browns would want that. I think the league would want that. So I think all of that makes sense. And by the way, it is important to note a settlement is not in any way, shape, or form an admission of guilt. That being said, I think we started to see at the end of last week things come out from the NFL and the NFLPA that the NFLPA was vigorously going to defend him. There was talk of even the clause in the collective bargaining agreement that said, owners would be held to a higher standard than the players, to then say, well, if you're doing this to Deshaun Watson, we are going to do this. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to have the potential for owners to be under oath and things of that nature. It felt like to me, again, this is total assumptions. These are based on no facts. These are not scores in any way, shape, or form. But it did feel to me like you were having public posturing from the NFL saying, yeah, we really wanted to be harsh. The NFLPA saying, if you do that, we're appealing, and this is what the consequences of that would be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's all figure this out and have a situation where we come up with a suspension that is probably not going to be all that lengthy. This is, again, my guess, that they will say, we wanted to do this. This is where we ended up at. The NFLPA would say, well, we thought there should be 0. So this is a great compromise, as Larry Day would tell you. In a compromise, nobody is happy. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where we're headed, and I think we're headed there rather quickly. I know that there's a lot of people saying, well, Deshaun Watson said he never wanted to settle. He was going to clear his name. And I don't know what the change in thought process was, but I can tell you as somebody, and I'm sure many of us out here have been in some type of a court situation, you can't say yeah, I want to settle, because then you lose all your leverage
Correct.
to settle. So
Yes.
whatever you would be working behind the scenes on, and we know that there were discussions of settlements going back to as far as the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
So this shouldn't be like an about face. It's just, what do you expect somebody to say in a public situation?
Real quickly on that, the same was said of those who have filed suit, that
they
would never settle.
Yes.
So, of course, that is the tone you take in litigation.
Of course.
You know, so
Pending
like it's
civil litigation.
this is not an admission of guilt of Deshaun Watson. The other could be said of the other side of it, right? They reached something that's amicable for all.
Yep.
That's all this is.
And it's going to be confidential, and that's going to allow both sides to say, we got exactly what we wanted out of this. We are putting it behind us, and we're moving forward. And I think that that's probably what I imagine everybody wants in this situation. They want to move forward and have it behind them. It has been, I'm sure, very difficult on the plaintiffs. I'm sure it's been very difficult on Deshaun. It's been very difficult on the Browns. Been difficult on everybody, who likes this football team for a variety of reasons. There have been other situations around the National Football League where things have been accused. There have been settlements. And, again, we're not going to know until if any of these ever do go to court and they have an opportunity. What we do know right now, the only thing that we know is that nothing criminal happened at this juncture in the eyes of the courts, as there were 10 attempts to bring criminal charges against Deshaun Watson in 2 different counties. No grand juries indicted Deshaun Watson, which means they didn't feel that there was even enough evidence to have a trial as to see whether or not a crime committed. They are convinced that no crime was committed. So that's where we are right now. 20 of the 24 are there. There are 4 still outstanding. You've heard, and I've seen some things as well, that there are, looking to close those 4. Now, Busby said, Ashley Solis wants to continue to go forward with hers. We'll see what ends up happening there. But 4, while still a big number, is not 24. 20 of these are now clean, closed, done and dusted, as they would say. And so I think that the goal would be to resolve all of this so that everybody can just move forward to whatever the satisfaction is. And, for Deshaun, there could be a variety of reasons to settle. 1, right, to focus on playing football. And I have no idea what his mindset is. Number 2, folks, being involved in this stuff is not fun. Anybody who's been in any type of a litigation situation with depositions, and it goes on and on and on, and the money that you spend goes on and mounts and mounts and mounts. It's not necessarily the most fun thing or the most productive way to live your life or to spend your time on. And I would imagine that people want to do that, and I would also think that perhaps other side saw, okay, maybe it's not going to be as easy as we thought. Let's get this now when we get out, and that's great. I don't know. It's just good, I think, from our standpoint as the host of Cleveland Browns Daily, that now 20 of these are resolved. There are 4 outstanding, and hopefully they will be resolved soon as well.
Well said on your end. I also think that this part allows for the next part to happen. It felt like the next part was on a treadmill going nowhere.
Yes.
Until this happened. Once this happens, this signifies closure.
Yep.
Right?
That's
so
the end of
this
it.
gets you closure on 20 out of the 24.
Yep.
My thinking would be, and again, just to reiterate, because sometimes it's not abundantly clear, and these are not scores in any way, shape, or form, my thinking would be that the other 4 probably will be settled as well in a relatively decent amount of short order. This would allow for the NFL then to say, here is what we would like to do from a punitive standpoint based on the fact that we're in this mess to begin with, right? So that's what this would allow. But until this was done, I was having a hard time understanding how the NFL could levy any sort of penalty to Watson and how Watson would accept it.
Right. And they wouldn't. And
they wouldn't, and he wouldn't. So that, to me, like, in order for that part to move forward, folks, it's June 21st.
Yeah.
Like,
camp's 5 weeks away.
July 30th, the way we go, like, it's 5 weeks. Like, there's this, in order for this to move forward, things had to happen. Like, this had to happen. There was, otherwise, I kept finding out, I've just, even in, other things that I do for a living, I'm just talking about it out loud going like, I don't know how you even begin to do this because of how complicated all of this is. So this allows for a more straightforward approach to that.
Sure, and I think it allows for people to be able to move on from this at some point and to be able to move forward that, look, this is, whether you like it or not, the only people who know what happened were the people in that room, and they have reached an agreement that makes 20 of them happy that case is closed. Moving forward, it's done.
Yeah.
So that I think is an important thing. I also feel, as I said very strongly, that I think the NFL and the NFLPA and the independent arbiter, this judge, former judge, that they want this to be as clean as possible. I don't think they want it to be this massive thing. Then it gets appealed. Then who knows where that goes. I think everybody wants this to all be clean and tidy, and unfortunately it's always not clean and tidy, but so that people can move forward, so that they can get back to the business of what it is that these people do, whether it be on the side from, the NFL, just having football be the topic of discussion. Same for the Browns, same for Deshaun Watson, obviously. So we'll see how it goes. That's where it is right now, though. There are 4 pending civil lawsuits against Deshaun Watson. We don't know if those will be resolved or if there will be even more, fewer or more, settlements to go forward.
Yeah. This from Josina Anderson of CBS Sports. She was here last week and has had quite a few comments on this over the last week or so. Deshaun Watson's legal counsel and advisors continue to work vigorously behind the scenes to bolster their expected arguments while waiting for an initial announcement from the NFL. There are some I have talked to who believe the league has started to send some signals. We will see. So this goes to what you were just saying, and the idea of wanting this to be clean, wanting this not to be something that drags out anymore through the rest of the summer. So that's where we stand on all of that. Coming up next, boy, there was a lot going on. There were stadium renderings making the rounds throughout the weekend as well. We will get into that coming up next. We're off and running on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Dreams. They can do it for you in about a day. Why not transform your current bathroom into a luxurious spa-like feel? And again, the Bath Authority does it in about a day. Let them make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler. They are experts. They are factory trained. They can install it as it is meant to be installed. Call them now for $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects are all made in the United States. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. You need an acrylic tub that'll insulate, keep the heat in. They can do that. Tub to shower conversion, superior products, expert installers at the Bath Authority. $500 off your next order. Give them a call at 216-220-8399. So in addition to this breaking news on the Watson front in regard to the settlement, we also have this. Now, this started on, like, maybe was it Saturday or even Friday night?
Yeah.
That I saw it on social, like these images of stadium that were bouncing around. I know that we're citing Florio here, but it was locally. It's where it came from. He aggregated it, but it was somebody locally here who had it first and kind of had the story to it. This notion of new stadiums being studied that led, in fact, from our PJB, Peter John Baptiste, Senior Vice President of Communications, releasing a statement on the studies. He says in the statement, contrary to recent speculation, a recent feasibility study we launched does not contemplate a new stadium or showcase new stadium sites. A significant stadium renovation at our current site is the premise of the study, as well as a focus on how to provide accessibility to the lakefront, drive density, and create a 365 destination major development opportunities that will include new public parks, retail, office, residential spaces. The vision, as many in our community have already seen, is centered on an extensive land bridge. So this is just about the future of the stadium going forward. It's appropriate. I mean, again, not scores, just me. It's appropriate. It's time. If you look at what's happening around the league, it is something that is due. And if you think about big picture for the state and for the region, this is me talking, not whatever's going on in these studies. To me, this state needs a stadium situation that can be used year-round. It needs a dome, a retractable. It needs an ability to host Final Fours and college football championships and WrestleManias. It should not be something that sits on a lakefront, vacant, dormant, outside of 10 weeks a year.
Agreed.
It's impossible to do that. It at this point has always seemed silly to me that this was the case. Again, Beau Bishop talking, not the Cleveland Browns. I have no idea what the thinking there is. I'm not privy. I'm not a big enough bee for that. But from my vantage point, it just seems common sense.
Of course.
Like, you've been to these places. You've been to Minneapolis.
Oh, my God. It's so nice.
It's unbelievable. You've been to L.A. You've been to other places. And anytime somebody comes and they go, oh, yeah, they're never going to host a Final Four in Cleveland, never have a Super Bowl in Cleveland. Dude, they had them both in Detroit.
And Indianapolis.
Right. They're Midwestern cities. Like, our city, our region, our state, we are the only ones capable of doing this. It's not going to happen in Cincinnati.
Nope.
It's not going to happen in Columbus. So this is the one city in the state that could do this. Wouldn't it be nice to host a Super Bowl in a state that houses the Hall of Fame? Doesn't that seem appropriate at some point? It's doable. It's very doable, but you got to have the building first.
And we have the hotel capacity set up around the time of the Republican National Convention. So we've got the capacity to host these mega events that would bring a massive influx of cash to this area. You go look up the studies. Go get on your Google machine. Look at how much of an economic impact a WrestleMania has on its host city, on how much a Super Bowl has on its host city, on how much a Final Four has on its host city. There is the opportunity for all that. I've been advocating that for a long time. Now, my advocacy was at times due to those factors, and the majority would be those, but also was spurned on by the fact that I was on those 10 Sundays. I'm standing out in the elements. Not pleasant always. Now I'm in the booth.
Yeah.
Not my problem.
Right.
However, I still think it's the best. And if the Browns are constructing a team that now has an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson, that you've got an opportunity to play modern offensive football, to throw the ball around the yard, doesn't it make sense? If you feel like you can craft the best roster, doesn't it make sense to eliminate variables, to have everything in a climate-controlled, quality-controlled environment so that the best can just prevail? To me, it does. It feels like it makes sense to me.
Yes, and beyond that, there's something, and I be respectful, but I also think that there is an old way of thinking of this is who we are. We've
Yes,
got to
and
be
I get
in
that,
the
though.
frozen tundra and all
Yes.
of this stuff. But the league is shifting away from that. Go ask Green Bay how great their home field advantage has been in the last couple of NFC playoffs.
Not great.
Not.
Not.
It's hard to play in that stuff, home or away. It's hard to play in it. And guess what? It's hard to go sit in it. It's not enjoyable.
No.
It's not enjoyable to go sit in it. And here's another thing. Guess what else? You put a dome on something, guess what it's going to be? Louder.
Comfortable. We can drop snow on you. They do it in Minneapolis.
Right.
We'll drop snow on you all you want.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, okay, Atlanta's got a dome. Lovely weather. They do it because it might be too hot.
Right.
L.A., they play in a dome. Dallas is in a dome.
Houston
is
New
in
Orleans.
a dome. New Orleans. I mean, there are so many in the league.
Arizona.
Again, for heat.
Yeah.
But I just think it makes a lot of sense here, as you talked about, from the economic impact. It certainly is a no-brainer. The things it'll bring to this city. The fact that this is now something for big concert tours. Guess what? Did you know that big concert tours, stadium tours, happen all year long?
That's right.
They don't only happen in June or July. That's when the Browns can get them, June or July. You talk about all year long, big soccer matches, whatever you want to call it. You have the opportunity to be a 365-day-a-year sports destination. I'm all for it. I've made that abundantly clear. We're not the powers that be. These are just our own personal opinions in this. I do think that there is a battle in the heart of it over, yes, makes the most sense. Yes, this is exactly what's right for the era economically. It's probably what's best for the football team. But versus we're the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns play football outdoors in the elements. That's who we are on the lake.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings just do that too.
And
I mean, the Purple People Eaters era, they played outside in the frozen.
Let me tell you something. I didn't hear one complaint from anybody, any Minnesotan.
No.
I
think it is starting to shift too. And just in terms, I've seen several people put up polls, in the last couple of days about, is it important that we continue to play outside? And I saw there was one this morning that some Browns podcast put up they had 4,000 votes and it was 88% no, it's not. Give me the dome. It is.
I would agree.
Shifting towards that part of it.
Here are things to think about as well. Number one, the National Football League is the best television product in the world. Right? So you have got to create an environment that is conducive to people wanting to leave their homes to deal with the parking and to go and be at the game live. There's nothing better than being at the game live. And we all know that.
It's the best.
However, it is a great television product. And so I think as we see things in the sports betting, right, and we're talking about a future. I'm talking about the future now, where you have in your seat your own console that is going to allow you to gamble live from your seat. Is this going to be a pass? Is it going to be a completion? Are they going to score on this drive? All the different live odds you're going to be able to do and participate.
Yep.
You want to do that in a comfortable environment. That is not nearly as fun if you're being pelted with freezing rain.
No.
Okay? So I just think it all makes sense. And last year, I'll say it once, I said it twice, I'll say it a billion times, so I'm blue in the face. And until I see something that's better. Minnesota is the best stadium in the NFL, and it is exactly something that is feasible here. It's not as grand as Jerry World. It's not as grand as what they've got at SoFi. It's not even as big as the Mercedes-Benz Dome or whatever they're calling it now. Is that New Orleans? And is in Atlanta also Mercedes?
I think one of them became Caesars. I think the New Orleans one became Caesars
and Atlanta's Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's just perfect, and it feels small, and it feels connected to the Vikings, and it feels connected to that community. The way the glass looks out, you can see into downtown. You've got, as we said, it's got a Viking ship shape to it. You can do something that would feel very Cleveland inside of that dome structure that I think would be great and would allow, to, as we've talked about so many times, things to happen there year-round, that it's a never-ending entertainment destination.
Yes. Yes.
Which is a good thing.
That's what you want. You don't want a lakefront dormant for most of the year.
No, and
that's not what you want. I mean, that's a city thing beyond just the Browns thing. That's just a city thing, So it's to me, I get all of it. And I do think we're a ways off before but you can understand how these things, need to get in the motion. It's funny. I have not been to you've been to everyone in the NFL. I've been to a lot of dome stadiums for college football games, NFL games, playoff games, and Super Bowls. At no point did I think that the environment lacked from being in a dome. At no point did I think the environment was sterile because it was in a dome.
No.
It didn't seem like that at all. And in fact, I've found that in most instances where there is a home team and an away team, that it is louder in those than it is in open air. And that's a big part of home field advantage, just as much as it is about the weather.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's that part of it. It's the noise part of it. Can you create more noise? Yes, you can in a dome. Fact.
Yeah, because it bounces
stays in
and comes back.
That's right. So
you have tremendous
we'll
engineering in Seattle that allows that stadium to be very, very loud. But a dome is going to be louder always, period, end of story. And I think that, I would love to have it be a dome where it is a retractable roof. So
Sure.
when it's nice here, yeah, and you could, work on having natural grass in it. I think that would be important. I think that feels very Cleveland. I think the play on turf would not feel as Cleveland, but hopefully there's some way that they can work around that and figure that out. We got a lot of technology now. I feel like there are lights that you could put inside that could keep your grass going. You could be just fine.
Haslam Sports Group built the stadium in Columbus.
That's right.
At the Crew. Now, that is open air,
Yep.
but it's below the water table, and they grow grass on that. They have these lamps, and they grow it, and away you go. So you can do it, absolutely. And I love the Minnesota one because of it's just so airy with the windows. Like, it's just an awesome feel to it.
And
It's
it
really cool.
sounds great. And for some reason, your vision is even better when you're there. It was awesome. I think it's stadium perfection, and it's been around That's almost a decade now, probably, right? 6 years?
4 or 5, 5 years probably. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say at least 5 years, right?
What is it, U.S.
Maybe
Bank?
longer. I mean, it's been around.
Opened in 2016.
Yeah, so
6 years.
6 years. And it is just spectacular.
Yeah. This is this is one on social. This is just someone who doesn't understand, who has not been to this place. So out of town cap. It's an open. Must be open air, naturally lit stadium, not like a Minnesota or Atlanta stadium, too dark, either retractable or open air like L.A. First of all, L.A. the temperature's 70 degrees every day, so that's a big reason how they can do open air, right?
Yep.
So that's a big part of it. Second of all, Minnesota is not dark at all. It's bright. That stadium is bright. I don't even know if do they even turn on you don't even hardly need to turn on the lights. It's so bright in that place. They do,
it's great.
Just to balance
the top is the sun comes through the top.
Right. And the one whole end is windows.
Is glass.
Is
right.
all glass. So I don't even know. You guys were just there. I was there a couple of years ago. But
it's amazing.
You don't need – it's bright. That
perfect.
place that's really quite perfect.
Yeah. But the ceiling is translucent.
Right. Pretty good job. Yeah. No, they got it. They've nailed it. Absolutely. So, boy, we had a lot of business out of the gates of this thing. Yeah. I mean, not a lot of story time.
We haven't even gotten into any story time.
We have had no story time. It's been all heavy lifting. The official Donna is not going to like that first half hour.
No, and she's with Bryce right now. They were listening after a great Father's Day weekend, and I hope you had one. Great Peepaw weekend for you, Gibbe, and yeah, no, this was right. We didn't want to start so we had tons of frivolity and jocularity for you.
We had a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting that the Big B's had to do on a Tuesday back.
We're not
so
afraid.
we did it. You're fine. You're safe. Much more to come. Cleveland Browns. In this case, there is still an hour and a half of show. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. A lot of bad advice about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big, winner on a roll. The miss can lose you money and get you in a lot of trouble. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at keepitfunohio.com. Nice weekend, boys. Good weekend. Good Father's Day.
It was great. It really was. Had a great Father's Day. We were able to go and I had a nice brunch. Went to M Italian. We had a great brunch, and then with the kids went up to the pool for a little bit.
There you go.
And got some swimming in, which was fun. And then we came back and grilled and played some euchre, and food was phenomenal. I had something that I had not had before, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. So we went for the Father's Day dinner. Just to spice it up from the normal Zegura Steakhouse dinner, I got some Lobster Cocktail. So Heinen's will have that, that chilled lobster meat.
Yeah.
So I got like a half a pound of that.
Okay.
And with some of the St. Elmo's cocktail sauce.
Oh, okay.
And it was delightful.
That feels like it would be.
I mean, they're not chopping up tail in there, so I don't want people to think that you're getting like a lot of tail meat. Maybe you'll get every now and then you'll get a little piece, but it's mostly claws, but like good claws.
Yeah.
And so it was really good. So we had that, and then we had a little Caesar, because Arden loves the Caesar salad. We had at Heinen's, have you seen those cauliflower steaks where they're like cut the purple, the yellow, and the green?
Delicious.
So I did all the shopping Saturday. So I took this, I think I told you about this, the blonde Italian, I think is what it's called. It's like a seasoning.
Yes.
And it's like in a jar, so it's like olive oil, garlic, all this stuff. I did that, mixed it with some flavoring chilies, and I just like doused it on those and let them sit in that overnight. They were so good on the grill. They're incredible. Then we all had steaks. We all had our different kinds of steaks because we have Artie loves a filet. Of course she does.
Naturally.
Miss Kay loves a good strip.
Best.
Nana had a strip as well. I had a big T-bone. And then, of course, for Bryce, we got noodles. So we got the bucatini, the flour bucatini that they sell, which is so good. Put some mushrooms in that. And then the sauce I had never used for. I'm a big truff guy.
Yeah.
The white truff I find to be just an incredible hot sauce. And just delicious sauces. It's good on everything. They make an arrabbiata. Truff does, the brand. So it's got a little truffle flavor to it. It's got some real heat to it. So I did that on the bucatini as kind of like the little pastas. And we had a great bottle of wine. It was great.
It's a win.
It was a huge win. We had a great time. And then my kids are now old enough where they wrote like really meaningful cards. Both of them were incredibly nice. Like Bryce's was by far the nice card of his career, and he even did a little drawing on the back that was really fantastic.
His career.
Yeah, and then Arden
really in his prime as a card maker.
Yeah, well, he's entering it.
He's entering it. Yeah, Artie's been there.
And Artie's, I was crying, and then Bryce won't let anybody else read his card, so nobody else got to know it. It was just for me. Arden, I think, was quite proud of what she did, so she was happy. So, and then Kayla's reading, she's crying. Everybody's crying. It was like a cry fest. And then my mom, the official Nana of CBD, must have gone to like an arts craft store and bought every 4th of July decoration that there exists in the world, like things that you stake into the ground, pinwheels. You got wreaths, 4th of July wreaths, an old American car that's a 4th of July car, and all this stuff that'd be like, I could decorate my house, your house, her house. So I was dying laughing. I'm like, sometimes she's like, you never know what you needed, Now, she also, Nana's become quite an artist, and she did a painting of our family walking on, like, our favorite path in Chagrin Falls, and it was actually pretty good. Nana's
official Nana is an artiste?
She is now. She's painted, like, thousands of things. She did some great Scottsdale scapes for me.
Wow.
She's good. I told her we went to Chagrin Falls, had an art show, I think, 2 weekends ago, and I said, you should get one of these, like, booths and see if you could, like, make a little scratch.
Yeah.
I think she could.
Sling some painting.
Yeah.
I like it.
So the best part was, though, that Nana then goes, well, I got you a bunch of these things, and I knew you wouldn't like them all, so I'll take the ones that you didn't like. So it was basically like, here's 1,000 4th of July things. You pick a few, and I'll take them.
I don't like calling it 4th of July. I like to calling it your birthday.
Yeah, for my birthday. Sure.
Yeah,
sure,
for your birthday.
Very patriotic.
Yeah, very patriotic.
I said, Nana, you're like the most patriotic person in the country apparently right now, which is saying something these days.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Gibby,
how about yours?
You do good? You do good? Everybody, you got what you needed?
Yeah. I mean, it was a full day Sunday. It was a full day. We entertained. We had 20.
Gosh, you are.
Lots of food.
He is.
Lots of beverage.
Yep.
My day came yesterday when I played golf and everybody went back to work.
There you go.
That's how I celebrated the weekend.
Monday on the golf is pretty good. You get a Monday on the golf.
Although,
good.
not gonna lie, a lot of people clearly had the day off yesterday. The golf
I don't think anybody
it was
works
a slow
anymore, period.
Yeah, well,
That's
there's
what
a
I
possibility.
think. I don't
of
think
that.
anyone works anymore. I think everybody's at home.
Not us.
No, we're not. We're here.
We're
We're
here.
redoing the thing out there, and we're
Yeah.
here. New route in here. Jay, I think I snuck up on Jay.
Yeah, you did. You got to sneak up on him.
Didn't know where I was.
One thing I got to add real quick. My gift from Miss K, which was something that, as we talked about, this is something that could be discussed before. Perhaps. I don't my kids aren't dialed into exactly what I want
Sure.
like your kids are, which is really
Really
testament to them.
incredible how
Incredible.
much they pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're in your brain.
Sure.
So I'm a big who doesn't love a good zero gravity chair, right?
Yeah.
They're great. Love a good zero gravity chair. We are now the proud owners of a zero gravity love seat. That's right. We're both on there together in
Wow.
love, reclining, free of gravity together.
Really?
It's awesome.
I've got 4 zero gravity chairs.
I love a zero.
I don't know that I have one.
Oh,
What?
they're fantastic.
Is that like the moon thing or whatever? Or is-
No, they're
what's
like
a zero gravity chair?
They look, they got like the fabric on them, and you get in it, and it like leans back all the way, so you're almost kind of like flat, and they're just so comfortable and light and air. You've seen a billion of these. It's
Fantastic
kind of like a lounge
Saturday
chair,
afternoon when I wanted
but
to
better
die
than a
because I
lounge
was
chair.
hungover.
Yeah, and you just sit on it and you relax. It's got a little cup holder. You can have your favorite beverage, and just you can
Like
just,
they're like an outdoor chair? Or?
yes,
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
it's an outdoor chair.
No, I don't have one of these.
Oh my God, you should. Like he set a couple of those up poolside, and you're just in there as king of the castle, sitting in your zero gravity, while Bootsy has his morning swim. You'll love it.
Oh, okay. I have seen these.
Yes.
Oh, they're
everybody's got
great.
I don't have one, but
Oh, you should.
I
Did
have
you
seen
say
them.
couch, by the way?
I said
Love seat?
Love seat.
Love seat.
It's basically a double wide. So I've seen them be for like I've seen one person use them. Obviously, you can. It's very comfy and cozy, and if you're a bigger person, it'd fit you really nice. But for two people, it's just a real treat.
I love where this is going.
You're gonna get one of these, Gibbe?
I think I am.
Yeah, it's great, dude.
I mean,
I couldn't be happier with it. We sat on it for a little bit yesterday. Boy, what a delight.
I like this. Okay, now I see that they even have these like for indoors or like recliners and all sorts.
It's basically you can have it indoor. You can
they
sit
are
right now, you can sit
they
anywhere
are
you want.
fantastic. The first time it swings back, you think you're
Oh,
going to fall, but no,
you don't.
you're not.
You're weightless now. You
I
have no
like
gravity.
That. I like it. Had a good day. Did
Yeah.
it's interesting. So the Amy lets the boys pick out whatever cards they want for me, and then they write little things on them. And my oldest, my 10-year-old, I believe it was my 10-year-old. He picked one with me as Indiana Jones, and I said, well, that's fantastic. There's few people I'd rather be than Indiana Jones, and I'm so thrilled that you view me that way, son. That's a good job.
That is a good job.
So we had that nice little stuff on there, nice little letters, and had a brunch with the in-laws, and then some people came over, played a little pickleball and such. I had but one. There are two big takeaways from the Father's Day extravaganza. Number one, all I really wanted. As I was sitting there, and they were like, well, what do you want? What do you do? And I said, you know what? I would like for you three to rebound for me. And I'm going to shoot.
Shots. Yeah, and you're going to rebound.
And there,
I'm going to put some
This is
shots
great.
up.
I just want to shoot, and I don't want to chase it. I'm going to shoot, get some shots up, and you guys rebound. They didn't understand. It was so hard for them because they're so selfish with their basketball from the standpoint of they fight for a rebound to be able to shoot it again.
Yep.
Like they didn't even understand the concept of, I'm sure you guys warmed up this way when you were young, until you miss it, you get the ball back.
Yeah.
They're too young to
And then
understand
even
that.
once you miss it, you break and they give you a pass. You get a layup, and then,
And then
you
the
give
next
them
guy.
the ball.
Right. That's the process. It's customary.
Yeah.
They're not old enough
This
to
is a
understand
society.
that. We live in society. So I've had to explain that to them in the last couple of weeks, that you shoot till you miss.
Yeah.
And then that's the way that goes. So explaining to them, like, I'm going to shoot and your only job is to rebound was amazing. Watching the
That's
confusion.
Now, how
on their
many
face.
basketballs did you have in play?
2.
Okay, so someone should have had one
There was
ready
always
to throw
one
to you.
hopping.
Yeah.
There was always one hopping. Yeah. So I did that for like 15, 20 minutes, and it was joy. It's been a long time. It's been since high school that I've had somebody literally just rebound for me.
Yeah, just for fun.
And that's fun, just to get shots up. So we did get to do that. Then so we went to the club for dinner, and it came time to order.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, the kids were really well behaved, and And they always are at those things. I have a high standard. I'm very tough on them, but when we sit down, we talk and we eyes up and they order themselves. Like there's certain things that we do and whatever. And it's nice. Like people, boy, they're great. Those kids are really well behaved. As you guys know, there's nothing that you like more than people saying that.
That's a great compliment.
Because it means, well, we're doing things right.
That's right.
So it came time to order, and the oldest one did order a filet, of course. And it's funny, he looked at me as he ordered it, like thinking that I would crush him for it. And I didn't say anything. I let it go. Fine, go ahead, enjoy it. I'm paying for it anyway. So it comes at the end comes to my order, and I order a dry-aged ribeye. Now, this is a ribeye is my favorite steak. Away we go.
Of course.
So it comes time. Yep.
Quick
Mr.
question.
Zegura.
Back to the ribeye real quickly is a question. When you go, if you were to go to the store to purchase your own ribeye that you yourself were cooking, what are you looking for the most when you look at it?
I need a marbling. I mean, I need to have that marbling. It's got to be consistent throughout the meat.
I like a marbling. I like a big cap. It's got to have
Of course, yeah. You need a nice cap on that thing, but then you have the marbling there.
Oh yeah, sure, of course.
So then you've got that, and the marbling that's all around it. I mean, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
That's
all right. Back to the dry aged.
So yeah, but I don't ever grill a dry aged.
Me neither.
I'm pretty good at grilling steaks, so I always try to go something different. So I went with the dry aged, and then I went with a truffle au jus on that, which was delicious. It was quite delicious.
Ooh, like
However, when it came out, I knew as soon as it started making its way that this was not what I ordered, because this one had a giant rib on it. So this was a tomahawk ribeye that was being delivered to me.
Yeah.
So the boys got a little lesson in how to handle your business. So the dry-aged ribeye was a certain price point.
Yeah. And what did they have?
And I was more than happy with that. More than happy with that. That's what I really wanted.
Yeah.
It was good. The tomahawk was an elevated,
of course,
substantially elevated
yeah,
price point. So I said, I didn't order this, but here's what I'm going to do. Apologizing. No. Apologize. We'll take it back. I'll get you in. No. Everybody else's steak's here. I'll go ahead and eat this. I just going to be charged for the one I ordered.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right?
Yeah. I don't want to
In
wait. I don't want to
theory,
miss out
yes.
on this.
I'm not missing out.
Your mistake. You'll pay the
We'll
difference.
just acknowledge that this, it was end of the night. I knew that steak was going in the garbage at that point. It was after 8 o'clock.
It's
on a
already
Sunday.
been served. Once it's been served,
It's not
it's
going
either going to
anybody
you
else's
or it's
meal,
going in the garbage.
or it's out.
You did
So
them.
this is-
You did a nice
I
thing.
did them a personal favor.
And the brown spotted that gave itself.
That's right.
For
This was not going to go. This meat was not going to land.
Good for you.
Without a plate.
Uh-huh.
So, to their credit, I mean, this ends up being a happy ending on this story. They were thrilled to be able to do so. So we had tomahawks, is what we did.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
And away you go. But it was good. So they got a little lesson in
The art of negotiation.
the art of negotiation, boys.
My buddy had a tomahawk for Father's Day, and they have a nice
lot of meat.
little setup. They have a fire pit, so you've got the wood logs and everything like an outdoor fire pit. But for Christmas, his wife got him the grill that goes
grate?
on top.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you can literally just on top of your fire pit, you can have at it from a food standpoint. And I'm like, I think I need to start doing that.
That sounds good. I found for me personally with the tomahawks, because you can get them and they come and they're often yay thick.
Yeah, it's a tough. I find
the
that.
sous vide is great for it because it takes
How
longer.
do you do it? How do you
So
just submerge the meat part, or what do you do with the bone? There's no sack that's that big.
I get like that. You can get some like 2-gallon hefty makes a 2-gallon. Like I can do the whole prime rib in. So you can get it to fit in there. If the bone is upset, like if it's an extremely long bone, I'll tell the butcher, hey, take 4 inches off this bone.
Yeah, I don't need.
We don't.
Up. There you go.
We
You're back.
don't. We don't need all this bone. The bone's going to impart its flavor. We're going to be just fine.
Yep.
But so then you get that. But yeah, get it in the bag. And then it takes longer because it's thicker. So I might be 3 hours at 129, but then you know that you can just get it so hot and just and it's
Done. Yeah.
It'll be perfect. Because the hard thing with a steak that thick is to get a char the way that you want and then still have the inside still be what
The
you
way you
want
need it to
without-
be.
Right. Otherwise, you might have a steak like we saw a prominent football reporter put on Twitter a few weeks ago, which was an unmitigated disaster. You don't want that.
I don't even know how to respond when people when they cook a steak that way. When they want one that way. Like, just have a hamburger, man. Who was the guy we had a player in here who said that they were going to medium, and that was like a big step. Remember that? That was this spring. We had somebody in here.
This year.
And we had somebody in here, and they were saying how, they had always been well done, and then they graduated to medium.
They're
sitting right there. I cannot recall who it was.
It was recent.
It was in the last month and a half.
Was it Perrion?
Yes.
It was Perrion Winfrey.
Yes.
Yeah, because he felt like somebody
and
who
it was a rookie. Yep.
would thrive in a medium rare world.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Especially down in Oklahoma. You probably had access to tremendous.
A lot of choice.
Tremendous.
Yes, a lot of choice.
CBS, they call it down there.
So no
Choice
golf
Brown
then?
Spotted.
I played, so it was all obligations all weekend. I had, we had a 50th birthday party for my friend Duke. I saw the great Bobby Cart there. He was there in the mix.
Sure, he was living his best life.
He was living his best life. Wanted me to tell you hi, so I'm doing that. I'm fulfilling my obligations. So I had a great birthday party on Friday. Then we had a graduation party on Saturday. Lovely graduation party. And then Saturday night, my oldest had a birthday party, so Bootsy, Beamsy, and I hit the course. We hit the links at like 7:15. We went out there.
Perfect.
Yep, it was perfect.
That's
It's
awesome.
interesting. I do believe that while I am not worth a damn at this sport, I did hit driver for the first time in a year. I hit
How'd it
driver. It felt most importantly, it felt good in the days that followed.
Yeah.
So I hit 3 drivers.
So you're back.
I hit 1 straight, 1 left, 1 right. So a full variety.
So
but
you are
most
back.
importantly, I felt fine the next
Yeah.
day. So that's a win. So I feel like that means that I can amp it up a little bit and actually go, play 18. But what I am is, while not being worth a damn myself, I am very good at assessing others' issues, including my kids, and giving them little tweaks to allow them to hit it straight,
That's great.
which is great. Beamsy couldn't hit it clean. He wasn't hitting it clean. He always hits it clean, but he wasn't hitting it clean. Couple of tweaks.
There it is. Pure as the driven snow.
Got it out there. Bootsy hit a 20-foot putt, rattled it in.
Too
Putting
easy.
contest, too easy, Dad. Too easy. Yeah. Oh, it was good. It was a nice weekend. Very nice weekend. We'll get into the golf coming up in the second hour of the program because there's a lot going on that side of things in the U.S. Open and the factor it plays on Father's Day. Go ahead.
So the art of negotiation, you talked about the art of, and you just talked about tweaks. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm also very good at giving golfers a pointer that can help their game. And it was a few weeks ago, but here's my internal conflict. A few weeks ago, I was playing with Jimmy. And Jimmy, fine man, very entertaining fellow, great golfer, great human. I noticed he was just flipping his hands at the ball, and that would cause him to hit these pull hooks, or sometimes he'd lag it and it'd go way out to right. And I said, you gotta hit it with a firm left side. You need the back. Think of taking the back of your left wrist down the line through impact, and then you're gonna rotate through after. But don't just flip your hands at the ball. You gotta hit it. You gotta hit down and through the ball.
Yep.
So it was great because Jimmy and I are partners that day.
Yeah.
And it helped him significantly. Well, yesterday, while I was rolling around 4 under par, getting my butt kicked.
I don't like this.
By Jimmy yesterday. And then so now I wonder, should I give any of these guys tips? They're taking all my cash. And then he goes, I texted him this morning because I was pretty bummed after I lost yesterday. But he said, by the way, there's definitely something to that left hand you told me about a few weeks ago onward. Yeah, there was something to it.
No kidding.
And now you're whooping me. Not really, but in the system.
No, but in the system,
Yeah.
the way that the system goes.
With the system.
As we were talking beforehand, we talked about this last week when you were on your golf trip or when you had just come back. Like guys that's too big of swings with those handicaps. It's too big of swings, man.
Too good for me.
Can't have it. All right, Jake Trotter will join us at the top of the hour, assess everything that's happened in the last couple hours on the Deshaun Watson front. We will get into that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Ace Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer, as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. As we said off the top of the hour, right around the noon hour today, Tony Busby, the attorney for the 24 civil lawsuits that were being fought against Deshaun Watson, announced a settlement of 20 of the 24 lawsuits. Brian McCarthy is an NFL spokesman, so he had a statement earlier today as well, saying today's development has no impact on the collectively bargained disciplinary process. Just me talking there, I don't necessarily believe that, because I almost feel like in order for that process to really begin, you had to have some closure to this other part, and you get some of that with the settling of the 20. So this allows
but he's
for
got
that
to
to
say,
march
just
forward.
like everybody.
Everyone
like,
has to say the same thing. I know.
We're not interested in settling. This has no bearing. Of course, these folks' stuff's all
the pieces matter. Didn't you watch The Wire?
Collected. That's right. All related.
All the pieces matter. So that's where it stands on this. In terms of what this means, it does feel like, this is going to be a bit of a collaborative thing going forward in terms of what a potential suspension will look like for Deshaun, the length of it, when that suspension happens. But again, guys, it's June 21st. Things have to happen on this front relatively quickly. We are 5 weeks from camp. So you want this thing.
It's imminent.
Yes. You want to have resolution soon so that you can know what you're dealing with by the time that you get to camp. And so there's a lot of layers to that process. And that my hunch is that those conversations have been taking place for a little while now. So that's kind of where you stand on that.
Yes. No doubt that those conversations have been taking place for a while. Everything that we saw over the end of last week, the comments from the NFL, the comments from the NFLPA, that was telling you that they were working something out, and that I think a resolution is close at hand.
And with that, we head out on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Jake Trotter, of course, at ESPN. Jake, actually, you were the first person that I saw with this, so you helped me this morning on my other activities when I saw this one break down. We're a couple hours removed from the initial news coming out. Where are you now with this, and how do you? I guess the next logical question is, where do we go from here?
Yeah, Beau, I think the question is, what does this mean, or does it mean anything, especially as it relates to the Browns and the NFL? The NFL told me in a statement that it was going to have no impact on the outcome of the league's investigation. The league is already nearing an end of its investigation by Roger Goodell's own admission a couple of months ago now, or a month ago, whenever that was. So I would think that we're getting pretty close to knowing what the NFL is going to do. Now, it is going to take some time once that process starts. So the NFL, according to the CBA, I was actually rereading it this morning or this afternoon. The NFL will make a recommendation to Sue Robinson about what kind of punishment it recommends. And they have to do that 10 days out at least before Robinson will begin to make her own evaluation of the NFL's findings and insert her own opinion into what she believes the suspension should be. So the NFL is going to make a recommendation. They'll submit that to the NFLPA. I would assume the league is just going to announce what that is. If it doesn't, it's going to get out anyway because so many people are going to be involved at that point. And then we're going to have 10-plus days before it goes to Sue Robinson, in which case she then begins her evaluation, and then it goes to the commissioner. It can be appealed by the NFLPA, which it sounds like the NFLPA is going to do. Basically, what I'm saying is this is going to take a while. This isn't like it's not going to be like a Thursday in July, and all of a sudden this is going to be wrapped up. This is going to take a very long time for the NFL and the NFLPA and Watson's side and the Browns to deliberate on. And so the sooner they start the process, the better chance they have of finishing it before the start of training camp, which I think is everyone's goal. So I think we could hear something, next week, the week after, from the NFL's investigators.
So is there not a scenario, Jake, where the NFL and the NFLPA and Watson all kind of come together and say, all right, we're all good with this, and they can thus forego going to Judge Robinson?
Yeah, the way I understand it, Nathan, the only way that would happen is if the investigators recommend no suspension. If the investigators recommend no suspension, then we are done. It doesn't go to Robinson. It doesn't go to the NFLPA. It doesn't go to the commissioner. So there has to be a recommendation of a suspension, whether it's 1 game or 17 games or whatever, for that process to begin. And again, we don't know what the league is thinking. I mean, the league could recommend to Sue Robinson, we don't think Watson should be suspended. Or they could say, again, we think he should be suspended the entire season. That remains up in the air, but it's not like the NFL investigators, Watson, and Roger Goodell get in a room and come up with the suspension together. That is not the format as part of the 2020 CBA. And that's this independent arbitrator, as agreed upon by the NFLPA and the league. This person has a major role to play in the event that a suspension is recommended.
Jake, in terms of 20 of the 24, when I first read this, I thought, okay, what about the other 4? I'm sure that's what all of us thought. I have seen some stuff in the hour or two since to lead to believe that the others will be 2. What is your understanding of that? Is because to me to settle 20 and not all feels like it falls a little short.
Yeah, so just to speculate a little bit, but go back to last NFL trade deadline. You remember the Miami Dolphins were looking at trading for Watson, and they did their own investigation down in Houston of the situation. And the Dolphins were not going to make a trade for Watson unless every case was settled. And I believe the number they got to, I'm like 99% about confident in this, is that it was 18 of the 22. So the same situation where there were 4 women who were unwilling to settle in that particular situation, which kind of facilitated the demise of the deal. Because the Dolphins were, to my understanding, all or nothing. And so now we're in a similar situation where 20 of the 24 have been settled. Now, I can't say for sure if it's the same 4. I do know that Ashley Solis was one of the holdouts last fall, and according to the statement that Tony Busby sent me, she is not settling now either. And so I don't know if this is a financial question or if these 4 women want to be heard in court and they're not willing to settle no matter what. I don't know about that, but I do know that there's been back in the fall and even now, there are 4 women who have been unwilling to settle. I don't know if it's the same 4 women, and I don't know if it's a question of money or these women, want to go to court so that their voices can be heard there.
So, all right, Jake, given that we still don't know where we are from here, we'll talk about the quarterback position that we do know. We know Deshaun Watson's here. We know Jacoby Brissett's here. And I know that you have put out your 53-man roster or early predictions on a 53-man roster. And I'll tell you, you're making some news here today, Jake, because people are running with
What did I do?
You said, and I quote, while Cleveland could ride the season with Brissett as its starter in the event of a Watson suspension, the Browns could also look for another quarterback trade. Baker Mayfield for Jimmy Garoppolo, anyone to help the team tread water while Watson is out. Is that just your speculation, or is that something that you heard is imminent that the Browns would be looking for another quarterback?
I can't handle any more quarterback drama this offseason. So that's just me speculating and or throwing that out there as something that kind of makes sense. Does that make sense to you guys? It kind of like, let's say Watson is suspended. Hypothetically, let's just say he's suspended for the season. I think we all agree it's going to be very difficult for the Browns to compete for a Super Bowl despite the roster that they have. And because of the roster that they have, it's also very difficult to say, well, let's just kick the can down to 2023. We're in Myles Garrett's prime. We're in Nick Chubb's prime. Nobody wants that, right? Browns fans don't want that, obviously, either. So, you have Baker Mayfield. Jimmy Garoppolo would probably be the best quarterback that you could reasonably acquire in a trade. And it actually makes more sense to me from the Cleveland side of it than the 49ers side of it. Because if they weren't ready to turn it over to Trey Lance, they would just keep Jimmy Garoppolo, right? But just kind of looking at, like, is there a veteran quarterback that you could go get like that? That makes sense to me. But I'm not reporting that. I have not heard that at all. And in fact, everything that I have heard is that the Browns are going to move forward with Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
In the event of a Watson suspension. Now, they could have a meeting once this happens and say, hey, like, what, is this what we want to do? Is there somebody out there we should go get? But to this point, everything that I've heard is that it's Jacoby Brissett if Watson is suspended.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that it makes sense from the 49ers side of things. Is the issue. And that gets to it. Let's do Baker for a second here while we're on the subject of quarterbacks and all that goes around it.
Yeah.
That's still a part of it. The Browns, I'm sure, view him as an asset, as he is one, and if they're going to pay him, like the notion of them cutting him to me makes absolutely no sense to me. Like they will get something for him via trade, or else you just wait it out if you had to. But I see no scenario where they cut him not to play or for him to play for somebody else. So then it comes back to Baker's mindset. You've known him a long time. Could he? Because I'm trying to look around the league and say, where is a spot if you were trying to facilitate for him to compete for the starting job? There aren't that many, Jake. And I think, honestly, like even Seattle, to me, what Seattle's clearly trying to do is go to the bottom and go draft C.J. Stroud #1 next year. I think that seems like their plan. So take me inside his head a little bit. And what's he thinking right now? Would he be a backup? Would he be a willing backup?
Yeah, so I think there's only one viable trade partner at the moment, and that's the one we've all heard about, Carolina. And they seem like lukewarm at best. Like I don't think they seem especially fired up about Baker Mayfield being their starting quarterback. I think they look at it like, well, Sam Darnold is not the guy. Like, who could we go get that might be a little bit better? And I agree with you, Beau. I think if Baker Mayfield is released, that it would happen at the trade deadline. I don't think it's going to happen before then. I actually think they would keep him on the roster all the way into November, which would, by the way, be really awkward because he would have to be in the building as part of the new CBA. You can't excuse him from training camp the way you can from minicamp. If he's on the roster, he has to be there or he has to get fined. So, you kind of come back to this. Well, if Baker Mayfield's on the roster and Deshaun Watson's suspended, and you can't trade him anywhere, and he's on the roster and he's in the building, like, could we revisit the possibility that he could play for the Browns again? And I continue to get the sense that that's just not anything that's viable right now from the Browns' perspective and from Baker Mayfield's perspective. Like, people ask me what percentage chance to put on it. I've been going like 0.1% chance.
And that feels
I might come up to 0.2 or a 0.3, but it's not more than 1.
No.
And, I mean, both sides have moved on.
Yes.
Baker's moved on. He doesn't want to play for the Browns. Browns moved on. They don't want Baker to play for them. I mean, it's just not a thing. But I do wonder, guys, if like we're, at the start of the season and we're, the Browns are 1-2 and Watson's going to be out, double-digit games.
I don't think he is, but
like,
yes.
And Baker's still in the building. Like, do we start talking about this again? Like, I wouldn't rule that out.
Well, go back to I kind of would. I would just say this. Would you
I would
do you
too,
think
but
that
I mean,
he would? Do you think he would be, because it opens it up if he, like, for example, like let's say Tampa Bay, and I know that they like their guys, and we're just having fun here on a Tuesday in the middle of June, for God's sakes.
Yes.
Don't hold us to any of this. But for example, Tampa Bay, would he be open to going to a place like that behind Brady for a year? Because one thing we all know about him, and you know it even better than we do, he is a force of personality. Like, I don't see him going somewhere and sitting behind Trey Lance or Justin Fields, like, or even the situation in Carolina. Like, to me, he's going to want to go in to compete for the job, and if he can't do that, would he be interested in that?
Well, I just realized I didn't even answer your question.
Sorry, it's all good, brother. Don't worry. A lot going on.
But I mean, it really is not up to Baker right now.
No, I understand that, but I just mean from his attitude standpoint, just hypothetically speaking, could you see him wrapping his head around it?
Yeah, I think so. I think he could go to Tampa and be Tom Brady's backup. I think he could be sold on that. I don't think that's his mindset. Like,
sure.
I think he sees himself as a starter in the NFL. And by the way, I think he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Same.
He's won a playoff game. A lot of guys have not. And he's had some rough moments, but he's had some really good ones too. So, I think he could, and I actually think that might be the best path for him, like very Mitchell Trubisky-esque. You go back up, you read all these stories about, Mitchell Trubisky and the Bills practice. Oh my gosh, he's lighting it up. And all of a sudden he's starting for a team that, there's a scenario in which the Steelers could be a playoff contender this year. I think that would make sense. And I think he would be open to it if it were the right situation. But again, he just doesn't have much say in this because it's ultimately going to come down to who the Browns trade him to. And right now, there's not just a big list of teams that are open to that possibility right now.
Okay. No doubt. All right, let's talk a little bit about what you saw out here. Mandatory mini camp in the books. We've talked a lot about the quarterback position, and I think there have been some things that you see from that position. You say, oh, this looks pretty darn good. But what, if anything, let's say on the offensive side of the ball, what, if anything, jumped out at you about this football team that we saw here through the OTAs and the mandatory mini camp?
Just on the offensive side, Nate?
Yeah, we'll start on offense, yep.
Yeah, David Bell catches everything.
Yep.
I think that they are very comfortable with the receiving core going into the season. There's been a lot of talk about, adding a veteran receiver. I think if they add any kind of veteran, it's going to be a defensive tackle, not wide receiver. So I think the offense is pretty well set. Really liked what I saw out of Jerome Ford, the running back they drafted at Cincinnati. A guy that can catch the ball maybe more than we would have thought, an option out of the backfield. And that's going to put somebody like Dearness Johnson. We all love Dearness, but, they're not going to keep 5 running backs either. So that's going to be an interesting competition this fall. And the other thing I kind of noticed, and it's not like anything you would notice in OTAs or minicamp because nobody's blocking anybody, but I really like the depth of the offensive line. I mean, they've got a lot of guys on the bench that have started a bunch of games at multiple positions. And we have seen, at least since I've started covering the team in 2019, where they've gotten in some spots where they've got problems at offensive line depth. Because of injuries or otherwise. And I think that they're positioned pretty well. If Jack Conklin or Jedrick Wills or Teller has to miss a couple games, I think they're in a good spot in terms of replacing those guys on a short-term basis. So I like the depth of the offensive line as well.
Oh, well, what's cool about the 10 guys you have making the offensive line room, Jedrick Wills, Bitonio, Harris, Teller, Conklin, Michael Dunn has started. Blake Hance has started numerous games at multiple positions. James Hudson has made starts last year, and he's only in his second year. Chris Hubbard started 40-plus games. Posick started 40-plus games. So you don't have anybody even in that room that hasn't played in the National Football League. So I think you're right about that. I have a question for you. You're talking about Ford, and I think he looked great. And, look, we all love Dearness Johnson, and I think that there's no doubt in my mind, much as you said earlier, and this is me talking, I'm curious to see if you agree, that Baker Mayfield's one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league. I think Dearness Johnson's one of the 32 best running backs in the NFL. And I think it's amazing that, in this period in the offseason, somebody didn't say, hey, let's give this guy an opportunity to be our guy because we saw that there. My question was, do you think, and I think it's something to really pay attention to, Felton kind of started with the running backs, Jake? And this is me, these are not scores. This is my interpretation of it. Ford was obviously really good right away because Felton's been exclusively a wide receiver basically for the last, 6-7 OTAs and the entire minicamp. And I wonder if they think that's maybe his best path to making this football team.
Yeah, and really kind of staying in the position he's been in where he can be a running back, but you also use him out of the slot. Jakeem Grant is a guy that they can use out of the slot in spots. David Bell, obviously, that's what they drafted him, to be a guy who works underneath the coverage. But, the question I have about kind of the structure of the offense, probably more than anything else, is how much are they going to involve Kareem Hunt this year? We forget about Kareem Hunt because, he's hurt last year, but, he's one of their better playmakers when healthy. And, it's tough because you have Nick Chubb there as well. And listen, we all love the 1-2 combination where you wear down defenses in the fourth quarter. I mean, that was really their 2020 blueprint. So my point is, if you're going to get Kareem Hunt on the field with Chubb, is Felton kind of playing that spot behind Hunt as a guy that, you can move around a lot? That's kind of something I sort of noticed in minicamp a little bit. And I don't know what kind of lasting power that's going to have. But, kind of like a backup Kareem Hunt role is kind of what I could see, from Felton. And this is a big August for Felton because he's probably not going to be returning kicks or punts anymore with Jakeem Grant on the roster. So he's going to have to make an impact somehow offensively because, we're talking about Dearness Johnson. I mean, even if you're the fourth running back, you can't feel super comfortable either, about your job security.
Well, there's a lot to it. Real quickly, before we've kept you for a long time, a lot of great stuff, buddy. On the defensive side, one thing that jumped out to us was just the back seven and how impressive that group looks. And, of course, that's going to be more so than up front because of the way that this was a passing camp. But those passing windows closed quickly, Jake. Did that jump out to you as well over the course of minicamp and the availabilities?
I think the secondary has a chance to be the best position unit on the roster.
Agreed.
Which I think is saying something because of the running backs and the offensive line and, even the question marks at defensive tackle. You still got Miles and Clowney there. I don't see any weaknesses in the secondary. I thought Grant Delpit was one of the guys that really stood out this offseason. If he can stay healthy, he and JJ3 at safety, that's very solid. They have a chance to be excellent at corner with Newsome sliding inside to the nickel, and Emerson and Greedy, sharing time opposite Denzel Ward. It's going to be a very good unit. I think that they're going to have – I don't think people are talking about them that way, but I think that they have, a top 10 secondary in the NFL potentially? Is that reasonable?
I think it could be better than that. I agree
There's
with
a lot of
you.
versatility, man.
Elite.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think the secondary is going to be excellent. And they've got some good depth too. Ronnie Harrison played a lot of games, for the Browns. Emerson, we'll see what he can do. I think AJ Green is a guy that's going to be a key contributor. I could see them. The one question mark I have is who's if they have a corner injury and you have to slide Newsome back outside, who plays the nickel? They don't really have an MJ Stewart type, right? That's I think the one thing they may be on the hunt for around cutdown day. But otherwise, there's really not a lot to want more beyond what they have in the secondary. So I feel really good about that unit this year.
Yeah,
same. And I think right now, if the injury to the outside was to Denzel, that would be the problem. But let's say it was to Greedy, and he'd be outside in the two receiver sets anyway, or whatever. Denzel would come in, or let's say it was to Greg, and he was out. Denzel would probably kick into the nickel in those situations, and then MJ Emerson or AJ Green would be on the outside with Greedy in those three, as it is now.
No, you're right.
But to your point, those are two guys who are starters that you're playing every single down. You need to have somebody who's just kind of in reserve, can come in and play the nickel. And I know Jeff Howard and Brandon Lynch are certainly working on that and cross-training some guys. We've even seen MJ Emerson get some work at dime, which would mean that they're giving him some work inside, not necessarily to be a nickel, but could be in a pinch. Like we were against the Chargers last year. It was unreal who was playing corner at points.
It was. It really was.
Right, yeah.
Great stuff, Jake. Thanks for the time today, bud. Love talking to you.
Okay, good to talk to you guys. Take care.
All right, that's our buddy Jake Trotter, covers the Browns at the very, very high level at ESPN, of course, joining us on the hotline there. Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. We'll go around the league, around the sports world as well. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Are your business operations suffering from internal communications breakdowns? My friends at EOX Vantage can help. Guys are data scientists, also business ops experts. Your EOX Vantage team helps you build a streamlined communication system. It brings together your email, your chat, intranet, announcements, CRM. It's one clear flow that's easy to understand and follow. Your people, including those who work remotely, gain a centralized hub that encourages collaboration. There's no more disconnected communication methods that leave team members out of the loop or not on the same page. In fact, real everyday business problems are solved with EOX Vantage. See how other business owners are getting everyone on the same page by visiting EOXVantage.com for more information on that side of things. As we go around the sports world, a little bit of breaking news in the NFL. Rob Gronkowski announces his retirement. Is this the second official retirement for Gronk?
Yeah, let's have another.
Yes.
Let's have another dinner full of chilled seafood,
Chilled seafood.
and then we'll pay for it.
Then we'll pay for it somehow. Now, there's only so much you can eat.
That's what we got last
At some
time.
point, you have to have a warm meal. You can't just have seafood towers for dinner.
Well,
It's not going to work.
apparently we could have only if, if we wanted to eat for free. That was what.
Right. Which was also not even like him. It wasn't also him even paying for it.
Yeah.
It was make good. Like, come on,
Make
let's call it what it was. It didn't even come out of his pocket.
No, it was.
Let's be
ridiculous.
very
By the way,
honest about the whole operation.
So Gronk posted he's retiring and he's done. In reaction to Gronk's news, his agent Drew Rosenhaus texted Adam Schefter, "It would not surprise me if Tom Brady calls him during the season to come back and Rob
course.
answers the call. This is just my opinion, but I would not be surprised if Rob comes back during the season or next season."
Yeah. Well, of course not. Like, would you put anything past those two now?
No.
Like, even Brady, he is so jumped the shark of being Brady. Like,
It's
I think
unreal.
anything could be in play. He could tell me he's going to the Naval Academy, and I'd be like, okay, seems like that's appropriate.
Feels like, yeah. I'm trying to find what Gronk actually said. There's a statement.
He's going to play again. Like,
Here it is. In college, I was asked to write about a dream job opportunity that I wanted to pursue and where the location would be. Every time I had to write about my future, no matter what, I picked being a professional football player. For the assignment, though, we had to pick the location, so I wrote that I wanted to play in Tampa for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for many reasons, the sunny weather being number one. I completely forgot about writing this report until 2 years ago when I had the opportunity to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let me tell you, the journey in Tampa over the last 2 years has blown away what I originally wrote about in college big time. And for this, I want to thank the whole entire first-class Bucs organization for an amazing ride, trusting me to come back and play and help build a championship team. I will now be going back into my retirement home, walking away from football again with my head held high, knowing I gave it everything I had, good or bad, and every time I stepped out on the field. Didn't he score 2 touchdowns in their Super Bowl win? I think he may have. The
Seems like
friendships and relationships I have will last forever, from retirement back to football and winning another championship, and now back to chilling out. Thank you all to all Buccaneers fans, the crew. Without you guys, none of this is possible. All of you brought it every game. Thanks for all you do. Cheers to what's next. Maybe sailing the seas with the pirate flag. So, as people are already saying, he didn't mention the Patriots, but I would imagine without
he's already retired
he
from
retired
them.
from the Patriots, and I'm sure wrote tons of stuff about them.
Is he like is he Kenny Powers without any of the bad stuff?
Feels that way. But I mean,
Is that fair?
I don't. But that's a pretty small sliver of Kenny Powers.
No, there's a lot of good to Kenny.
There's a lot of bad.
Well, it's a naive approach to life. I think that he and
So you're
Gronk-
talking
I was
about
gonna
his
say,
youthful
I-
exuberance and naivete.
Yes, like a small child.
Yes.
Yes,
And
I
a
feel
big
like
body.
correct. Yes, and skilled. I feel like he is Powers minus the bad. And I understand your point. It's a lot of bad.
I'd like Gronk to come back like exactly when Brady did, to retire for the same amount of time, and then be like, "Psych, I'm back."
I'm doing it.
Yeah, Gronk caught 2 touchdowns.
Who
67
retires?
yards.
I did have that. Attaboy,
You
Gibby.
did.
By the way, who retires right now?
Yeah, why now?
Like you could stretch it out 6 more weeks.
Yeah.
There's no camps.
No, you're not doing anything.
No.
Nothing to see here.
Maybe it is. How long was Brady retired? Was he 6 weeks, or was he only like 2 weeks?
I don't know. But I remember we were at the Combine. It was like there's 0 chance that he's staying retired. And that was at the end of February.
I thought he was playing for the Niners.
Yeah. Larry Ogunjobi visiting the Steelers today. We can't have that. We can't. Larry O, he's our guy. He can't play
He
for
went to the Bengals.
The Bengals and the Steelers post here. Chase Claypool thinks he's one of the top 3 wide receivers in the NFL. Well, you're alone in that opinion, sir.
I mean, and Gibbe puts on here, and rightfully so, he's not even one of the top 3 receivers in this division. Like, You would take
He's not even on his team. He's not the best receiver on his own team.
Deontay Johnson is.
Correct.
You would take, obviously, Jamar Chase, Amari Cooper, probably T. Higgins over him.
I would take T. Higgins.
I'd take Tyler Boyd
sure.
over him.
Yeah, I'm not sure I wouldn't take Rashard Bateman by the time he plays.
By the time it's all done, I like Rashad Bateman.
I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's got a lot of punk tendencies to him, that Claypool. He's got a lot of punk tendencies to him. He does. I saw Ndamukong Suh on ESPN yesterday. Is there some news on him potentially landing
He's
someplace?
making the rounds.
He was on NFL Live yesterday.
Yeah.
Talking about the Lamar Jackson contract.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's feeling it out, seeing if there's a opportunity there or not.
Yeah, I just don't know where he ends up. I don't know what the best fit is. For a little while, I thought it was us. I think we all did.
Could well still be by the time you get to camp, and
Sure.
if you get to camp and he's available and hanging out. For him, I think you just wait, don't you?
Yes.
You just wait and see if somebody needs somebody and it's a contender and a place that you want to play.
Exactly right.
This is pretty interesting from the Ohio State side of things. So former Brown Brian Hartline is the receivers coach down there. So yesterday he got a commitment in the 2023 class for the number 2 receiver in the country, a 5-star receiver, Carnell Tate out of IMG Academy. Mm-hmm. Today he gets a commitment out of the number 1 receiver in that class out of IMG Academy, a kid named Brandon Ennis. So he has now had 5-star wide receivers in back-to-back classes. Michigan has had 1 5-star commitment in the century. In this century, they've won Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's it. They've had 1. He's had 2 in back-to-back days.
Why is he not a head coach of a college program? Or is
just
it only
inexperience?
A matter of time?
I think he'll be the next head coach at Ohio State.
Okay.
I think when Ryan Day moves on, he'll be the next head coach at Ohio State.
He's
got a great life. He made a lot of money in the NFL. He's got a beautiful home in the northern suburbs. He's an elite recruiter. He has landed a commitment from 13 receivers since 2019. He has landed 13 receivers who are ranked in the top 100 in the country. 13 since 19. That's nuts.
He's really good. Well,
this is Ohio State. Like they didn't used to do this. They've always had good receivers there, but it was almost despite themselves. You got to back Terry Glenn, David Boston, but Joey Galloway, but they didn't put them in a position to succeed like they are.
I was going to say they didn't have a quarterback.
They were running offenses
no, it's totally different.
All right.
By the way, in the time this is from Ari Wasserman, in that time, so since 19, he has 13 of the top 100 players nationally, 13 receivers in the top 100 nationally. Okay. During that same span, the rest of the Big Ten has landed a combined 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's okay. So this is the thing. College football is an unbelievable sport. It is probably the second best sport, I would say, going today.
It's definitely the second healthiest. Yeah,
but it is inherently unfair in the sense that it is. You would say it's fair, but we all know it's not necessarily fair. But it is dominated by a ruling class that will be, and it changes because for a while you'd say it's inconceivable that USC is not at the top of the mountain. It's inconceivable that Notre Dame would not be, an elite program, and yet, here we are. It does go cyclically, but like right now, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia,
and then there's usually one that rotates through Clemson, LSU,
Oklahoma, LSU,
right.
USC, maybe trying to get back there, right? But I mean,
I will say this. The sport has never had this much imbalance. In the 20 years that I've been around big-time college football, it has never been. All of us are men, we're 40. In our lifetime, Washington, Georgia Tech, Colorado, when we were really little, BYU, all of these teams won national championships.
Yep.
Nebraska, Miami, Florida State, Florida. Look at all the teams that won national titles from 1980 to 1999. We haven't had a new national champion. I'm pretty sure I have this right. I don't think we've had a new national champion since Florida in 1996. Have not had a new national champion. It's been the same teams over and over and over again. And since going to the playoff era, it's been even more. It's the same 4 or 5 teams playing in it. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, Oklahoma. Those 5. I mean, Michigan State got in there twice, Washington once, but they don't get to the chipper.
No.
Notre Dame once, but they don't get to the chipper. The chipper is resigned for those teams. It's great. We've never had this big of a gap.
Which if I am a quote mid-major, I understand how important football is, But maybe you should start putting your money into something that you know that you can contend in.
No, what they should do is they should put their money into actually being a subdivision of this. And you're talking about Bowling Green and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying you don't need to play Division I football. You need to play what used to be old 1AA, and you play against the non-Power Fives. That's what should be. And you could still play up and go play Ohio State and get your paycheck, but you should also compete for your own thing. It makes no sense for them to be playing in this type of game.
Here's what's
awful.
It's crazy. So back to your point, which I think is so crazy about this. So you've got first year was Ohio State won, and they beat Oregon. Okay, that's the last time you're going to hear Oregon's name. Alabama beats Clemson. Clemson beats Alabama. Alabama beats Georgia. Clemson beats Alabama. LSU beats Clemson. That's the only time you're even going to hear LSU.
Right.
Alabama beats Ohio State. Georgia beats Alabama. I mean, like,
it's the same.
And that's at least the cool thing to me, at least about college basketball, is
Yeah.
that you get variations. Small schools can go on crazy runs and win it all. This is basically, we have an NFL feeder conference in the SEC.
Yeah.
We've got Ohio State is the non-SEC outlier. And you'd say Clemson as well. They're
Clemson
in there 4
too,
times. And
yeah.
they're ACC. But to me, because they're in the South geographically, it feels
It
like
almost
they're
feels
still
like
like
an SEC. Yeah.
in that same area. And that's it.
So in the last couple of recruiting cycles, the last 2 or 3 recruiting cycles, Ohio State, Bama, and Georgia, those 3 schools. This last one was one that's different because A&M paid the class and they had a huge class. But up until this last one, those 3 schools had more top 100 players than everybody else combined.
Yeah.
That's how much talent was in those 3 programs over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, you could honestly argue Ohio State's underachieved, and I think it's fair.
Well,
I think it's
based on
fair.
the talent that they only have won 2 titles in 20 years with all of the talent that's come
And
through.
in this era, 1 title and 1 second, and that's it.
That's it. And the title
That's
that they
crazy.
won was 3rd-string quarterback. I mean, it was
Cardale, yeah.
took a lot to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, you could argue that they've underachieved.
I was going to say, has it gotten to the point now where if you don't win the championship, it's considered a failed season? Not just making the championship.
This year for Ohio State, 100% it is. With everybody that they have coming back, 100% it is. If they don't, this is a national championship team. The best team they've had that didn't win it since I've been here was the Justin Fields freshman year when they had him, Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins. They had 3 Heisman finalists.
Was that the year after
and they
won
lost
it?
to Clemson. There were 10 things that had to happen for Clemson to win, and all of them did, and then Clemson ended up losing to Burrow and LSU. Not to say they would have beaten LSU, but that was the best Ohio State team that didn't. But the crazy thing about them is that their best teams don't win it.
No.
95, 98, most talented teams, 2015, 2005, 2019, their best teams don't win it. The 2 best teams in Ohio State in the last 40 years are not 02 and 14. They're not.
No.
But they're the 2 that won the national title. All right, real quick on the U.S. Open. You want it off of Father's Day?
I like the Father's Day. Like I'm in the middle of hosting.
Yeah.
I missed everything. And Saturday I've got other obligations. I was out of town. Weather is perfect. I'm getting out of the house. I'm not sitting in front of a TV. Do it the weekend after. Do it at another point. But Father's Day weekend, U.S. Open, doesn't make sense to me.
So I like it on Thursday and Friday. Saturday,
Yeah.
I did not watch much of it at all, to be perfectly honest.
I kind of had it on, but
Yeah, but it
I wasn't like
locked
dialed
in.
in.
And then
Like I pulled out the outdoor TV.
Sundays, I said we went to the pool, and then when we came home, I said I just want to watch like the back 9 of the U.S. Open. And I
Yeah.
got to watch it, and that was frankly that's all I needed to watch the U.S.
You don't
Open.
need to watch anymore when the weather's this nice.
No.
Don't you see, folks?
No.
When people rail on like sports fans in the South, this Sunday is there every day.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit in front of a TV for 12 hours and watch a golf tournament. You want to watch the stuff that matters at the end. I loved it. I thought that the star of the whole thing was the course. I thought the course was the star of it. I thought it was better than any individual player. I thought it was thrilling with the 3 of those guys in the final. I thought for a second Matsuyama was going to make a run at it when he posted 3, and he was maybe going to get to 4. Rory never got it going, but I thought those other 3 guys all showed a ton of guts, but I thought the course was a star. I loved seeing them having to wear like pullovers. I love the idea of – I haven't seen the country club in so long. I didn't realize it had that
awesome.
type of undulation. It looked
Yeah.
so creative. It looked so cool.
It was.
I loved it. I thought it was absolutely great.
By the way, do you know what's up next?
150th.
At
St. Andrews.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be unreal.
It's going to be unbelievable. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, it is. Brooks Koepka to live.
Yeah, of course.
I believe we had that. By the way, I believe we had the final score. I think I said exactly 6 on the
You
show.
did. I had
You
7.
did.
And you had 7, you had 5.
Yep.
So we were all right there about what
But
it would take.
at the time we did it, I think the leader was either 5 or 6.
Yeah,
at
it
the
was
time that
right
we
there.
said
And
it.
we thought even.
And that was on Friday.
That was Friday. And so even par did it throughout the weekend. It does feel like Brooks to live is a tipping point for the sport. I do think that he has, because now you're talking about, if you were to say like the most important players on tour before live, you would say McIlroy, Thomas, Rahm, who else that's still on
Koepka,
PGA?
Who's still PGA?
That's it. What you did is where I was going to go next. Would have been those 3, and it would have been DJ, DeChambeau, Koepka. Those 6 feel like the most important.
Phil.
And Phil, right. So
I mean Tiger, but Tiger's
Right.
not really playing.
And so then you get into the second group, which is like the Morikawa, Schefflers, and those guys are on the come, but they're not who these guys are. They're not the stars of the sport yet.
Everybody who's upset and did you see Charles Barkley's comment?
Yeah,
Charles.
I did.
He's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Did you see that, Gibbe? I
did
feel like
not.
that's something you would have said. Barkley said for $200 million he'd kill somebody in his family. Basically.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Like anybody right now working in their current job, if they said to you, I am going to guarantee that your pay 10x's, quadruples, doubles, triples, any of these multiples, and you are going to work a fifth of the time, 20% as often, and
Yep.
you're going to make 10 times more and work 20% as often. Who says no to that?
No, yeah. I mean, what they were pushing was this, the blood money, deal with the devil, all of that stuff, which makes this also interesting. But everybody has a price on that stuff. Yes, they all have a price on that stuff. And the only thing that I think would be interesting is if, in the back of my head, I would say, but this is so much financial gain that it's hard to imagine. But the only thing you thought is like if they ever get bored of this and are like, yeah, we tried this, it didn't really work for us.
But maybe
we're out.
they don't like grinding town to town and going to
Oh,
play.
for crying out loud! Of course
they?
not. Why would they want to? You play in 8 events, you can still play the majors.
Yes.
Until the majors stay, and I don't think they will.
No way.
Definitely Augusta and British won't.
By the way, if they do, it tarnishes the majors.
Right, because they have the best fields.
You got to have the best fields. You got to have the best golfers in the world competing for the best events.
I'll tell you what, Firestone. I have nothing to back this up, but Firestone, a live event. What's stopping them? Sitting there.
I believe you and I talked
We
about
talked
this.
about it a couple weeks ago, Gibby.
Why not? Like, I get
Sitting
that
there.
you've got this senior event, but if you can bring these guys in,
Yeah, for sure.
PGA's not knocking on your door.
No.
Is
no.
Miguel Angel Jimenez going on the live?
Boy, he would be the one you'd want. Abram Answer did too this afternoon. So
That was
another
one of
those
my.
guys, yeah.
That's one of my favorite stories from the Ken Stewarts.
The original Ken
The
Stewart's
original
was
Ken
him. Yeah.
Stewart's. I was. We had a dinner there, in the bar underneath the big steed,
Yeah.
the big brown spotted there that they have.
Yeah.
The painting
Gorgeous
of.
brown spotted.
And all the European guys are Miguel Angel Jimenez, all of them. This is when the Firestone tournament was happening, and we ended up talking to them and sharing quite a good time together.
Shocking.
And Miguel Angel Jimenez is everything you'd want him to be,
Perfect.
and more.
So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, the next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.